And hi, everybody. Mark Horner here, and I need to get rid of that thing on the side of the screen, see if we can bring me full. Well, I'm on a half a screen. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants in Haps tonight, and we'll try and get it worked out. Oh my goodness, look at that. Well, you know what? I should have done the tutorial. I haven't played in here very much. There we go. Full screen. Nice. Hope you're having a wonderful evening or day wherever you might be. Uh, Live streaming's been on my mind a lot. I've been attending some groups on some social media platforms, learning more about it. It's something I've been doing for a few years now, but there's always more to learn. There are some really great minds out there, especially on the technical side of things. And it's always good to be trying to stay up on software and hardware, things that are out there. But the bottom line is, if you got a phone these days and you got an internet connection, you can do this. And then there are just different degrees to which we can do this. At the end of the day, it's really not about the gear. It's important. It can be very important, but got to have content. So let's see. Someone's just jumped in here, and it looks like it's Mary, and Mary's on YouTube. How you doing, Mary Hep? Nice to have you here. So this is a spur of the moment thing, Mary, and just reaching out to get in front of the camera and share a little bit about what's been ticking on my mind regarding live streaming and where you might find me in this post Periscope era, and also to hear from you and any ideas that you might have. Oh, we got a Go Mark Go. That's from Will. Hey, William Allen. Nice to have you here. And looks like you're on Facebook. And who else do we have here? Carrie. The text is so small on my monitor. And Mark Beamish is here as well. Mark Beamish lives just probably within inside of 5 miles from me. And I was thinking that we might have some potential for storms today here in this area, north of Seattle. We had some beautiful clouds, some beautiful light, but we didn't get storms right here in my immediate area. Although toward the Cascade Mountains, just east of here, you can see those clouds packing up in places, and it was raining in pockets here and there on the slopes of the Cascade Mountains here on Western Washington anyway. So great to have you all here. And I thought I'd share with you, I'll kind of let one cat out of the bag about what's going on. And that is, in addition to popping up here on Haps intermittently and these spur of the moment things and maybe some breaking news or some landscapes, wildlife, sunsets, sunrises, moonrises, I'm going to do something over on YouTube, straight to YouTube. I'll qualify that in a moment. Once a week, and I'm going to do it for an hour. I'm going to aim for an hour. I'm going to aim for Thursday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific time on my YouTube channel, which is at Beyond 90 Seconds. So you can go to youtube.com/Beyond 90 Seconds. And William has switched to YouTube. I hope it's connecting better for you, William. It's always good to see you here, William. We've been connected on YouTube for years now, many years. I'm seeing a lot of change in that period of time. So yeah, I'm going to be again 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Thursdays, and I'm going to try and build a community. That's my goal, and there'll be a little bit more planning than the spur of the moment things that I'm doing here. But ultimately, what I would like to do is have a safe place for people who like to engage in conversation and share knowledge. Just show up. You don't even have to talk if you don't want to. But if you want to appear on camera, I'll bring you in as a group, because I'm going to do it ultimately using Zoom webinar straight to YouTube. And so folks can watch on YouTube, but if they want to go through some steps to join the group, I'll put information in the description beneath the YouTube video as I do this going forth, which will get you on board with Zoom. And we'll come together, and that'll be our clubhouse, so to speak. And we can talk about photography. We can talk about hiking. We can talk maybe a bit about what's going on in the news. Certainly, we can talk about the tech stuff. When I mention photography, I also like to throw in live streaming. And you could share with us what it is that you might be using or want to be using, or maybe you have questions for a member of the community. I'm very much involved with a group like that right now, but these are a lot of people a lot smarter than me when it comes to the technical side of things. And I am gleaning so much information from them, and they've been very receptive towards me. My background, while I have some behind the camera experience, the brunt of my professional career when I was in television was in front of the camera. So these are the guys who really no, and women who have some tremendous knowledge about the behind the camera side of things, especially as it pertains to live streaming. That said, I think there can be a bit of a gap, and maybe even a large gap, for people who just want to start out, and these folks could be a little bit intimidating. So I kind of see myself comfortably in that in between role where I could help folks who might be in the shallow end of the pool. In many areas, I'm in the shallow end of the pool. I've had a few deep dives here and there with some live streaming equipment beyond the phones and being on a PC. So yeah, and I think that would be a safe place to come and just share and ask questions. So that's a part of what I see in the community. And I also see opportunities for other types of learning and sharing too. More on that in just a moment. Let me check your comment. Someone says, "Hey, Mark, it's Tom. Tom, I was just going to talk about you, not behind your back so much. So subscribe to my YouTube." Hey, Carrie, thank you very much. I appreciate that tremendously. Every subscriber is much valued here on Beyond 90 Seconds on YouTube as well. So Tom just said hi, and Tom doesn't live far from here either. He lives over a wide channel of water in Puget Sound, salt water on Whidbey Island. I talk about Tom a lot because he so often engages. And last time I did this, I think we were on Haps too. So I'm using this app, if you're not familiar with it, called Haps. I'm not using it on my phone at the moment. I'm using their browser application in Google Chrome. And it's somewhat, if you're familiar with some of the PC, desktop, laptop side of things, it's sort of like OBS in a way, or Streamlabs OBS. And so tonight I'm using their studio version as opposed to their phone or iPad application. And anyway, Tom lives over on Whidbey Island. And the last time I was on, I spoke about, hey, Tom, you love to hike. Maybe you could tell us Whidbey Island. And I'm sorry, it says it lost my connection there for a moment, although I have a really strong connection. So if there was a hiccup there, I apologize. So Tom was, next thing I know, blasted on Twitter that he got an assignment from me at Beyond 90 Seconds, where that's my handle on Twitter too, and that he would be going out and going on hikes and taking pictures, sharing them with me, and we can set up something. So for those of you who live in the area or might have a future trip to Washington State, if you want to put Whidbey Island on your map, Tom's going to give us the lowdown in a future broadcast on good places to hike, and he'll share some photographs with us. And let's see, someone's saying, hi, Doreen. That's Tom to Doreen. And that's Doreen saying, hi, Mark and Tom. Hi there, Doreen. Always nice to see you here. And so we got Tom and, oh, wow, a lot of regulars from over the years. So you guys, top of mind, how does that sound? I know it's kind of, you know what I like? I don't like to have a formal rundown. So in news, you would have a rundown, your A block, your B block, C block sport, weather, sports, and your last segment with a kicker, something that's light and makes you feel safe going to bed. A little bit of facetious there, but that's what Walter Cronkite did. Tucked you in at night. Anyway, of course, many of you aren't old enough to know that. But how do you like that sound of that kind of loose conversation come together, kind of like a gathering around a table to have coffee together? Let's see here. Thursdays are good. That's excellent to hear, Tom. That works with your schedule at the Home Depot in the evenings and not too late. And Mark says, back before all these other sites had live streaming, I was messing around on Ustream with Wirecast way before OBS. Well, Mark, I was using Ustream as well. In fact, I used Ustream when we had the so mudslides. That was 2013 or 2014, wasn't it? It was March. And I used the Ustream app on a Droid incredible smartphone with really poor connection and really low resolution. But nonetheless, the news got out. So 2014, thank you very much for that, Doreen. I mean, I should know that. That was a profound year, a profound event, no doubt. Came in late. What are you thinking about doing? Okay, so I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm saying, especially post Periscope, I like to keep the old gang together as well as bring welcome new people on YouTube as well as here, but have a specific event set up for YouTube, 7 p.m. Thursday night. So we'll start with once a week. We'll do an hour and come together to chat, answer questions, bring people in as live guests. In fact, for especially those of you who I know, and I know you're not trolls, and those of you who've been following me on social for years, if you want to just join the room, I'm going to do this through Zoom. And in the description beneath the YouTube video, there'll be a new link. I think I'll make it a new link, a Zoom link every week so that you can join directly on Zoom. And I've got Zoom webinar that'll allow me to bring you all in. If you want to come on, just come on in and you can join the conversation. And that's one way we can do this. So I enjoy this so much, and I enjoy our engagement and our sharing. And I want a family-friendly place and offer this up. I know it's not out and about. I'm not showing snow geese in that connotation or in that, in studio type deal. I'm not showing you a sunset or showing you a structure 3 a.m., 3 alarm structure fire in Linwood or Everett, but it'll be a good place to come and talk. And if you like to, I have 2 ways to kind of frame that up and that I'd like to share with you. Let me see what you're saying here real quick in the chat though. I remember first computer in my house as a kid, 14.4 modem, and the sound before connecting was very exciting, Gary says. Oh, so you had a dial-up connection, it sounds like, and all of that screeching and stuff. We could talk about that too. Do we go through YouTube or Zoom? So Tom, what you'll do is just go to YouTube. And so this will be one way to do it. In the description beneath the YouTube video, which you don't always see right beneath the video, a lot of times that's closed by default. You have to click right beneath the video, and YouTube will kind of open up this text area with all the information about that broadcast beneath it. Same, just like any, uploaded video that's there for you to watch as a replay or, a pre-recorded event. So that's one way to do it. There'll be a link there. However, what I'm likely to do, and I'll think this through between now and Thursday, I can make an email address, an email sign up, and you will register, and it will be free, and you will get an email the morning of or around that time of the event, and it will have the specific link just to go straight to Zoom, so you don't have to mess with going to YouTube. So that'll be a do it. In fact, what I'll do is I'll make it so that we can come together, as a group. Those who want to come early, we can do so in Zoom even before 7 o'clock, and we can start talking. Just have some pre-chat, icebreaker, just say hello. The only thing I would say is keep in mind, you don't have to have fancy gear, but try and have a camera or a phone, your phone camera at eye level. If you're indoors, don't have a window behind you unless there's a drape or something, because you're going to have sunlight blasting through and turning you into a dark silhouette. Face the window and get that light on you. Just realize that you will be on camera. You don't even have to be, but I prefer that you would so people can see you if you come into the Zoom room. But you'll have the option, I believe, to turn off your camera and mic whenever you want to. But that's where I'm going with this. I could have sat here and really drilled for the next few more weeks and crossing every T and dotting every I and making sure that I'm can crack any Zoom code. But then when does it happen? And I just want to keep pushing to make this happen. So Mary says, that sounds fantastic. Love hiking and just learning about live streaming. Right on. Fantastic, Mary. Sounds great. Thursdays are good for you. New grandbaby on the way. Congratulations. So you need to run. Count me in. Thanks. All right, Mary. Appreciate that. And congratulations. You're the second person this week who I know who has a new grandbaby. That's awesome. And Tom says, I like me better as a dark silhouette. I might prefer that after a Patriots win for you. Maybe mute your mic. Me too, Tom Doreen says. Well, and there's no pressure to have to join. You can just, if you like the conversation, maybe it's even something where you could just be listening to the audio, whether it's on YouTube or on Zoom, because you enjoy the conversation. Maybe that's what this can be. So I was going to say one more thing. Hey now, Tom says. So I made the analogy, and this is more of my adult life, of sitting around and having a cup of coffee. I remember there was a period of time in my life where I lived, I guess I was in my early 30s, and I was living in Tucson, Arizona, in an apartment complex. And there were a lot of snowbirds there, senior citizens who had retired, right? And there was a room where everybody came together in the morning, and I was surrounded by a bunch of, much older people. And we played cribbage and talk about the news and have coffee and people were actually reading physical newspapers back then. There was no YouTube, there were no screens. So anyway, great conversations around multiple tables and coffee, and that was fun. The opposite of that, to some extent, where with some of those same old people, would be in the evenings on the weekends sitting by the pool around the table with a parasol and having some effervescent beverages. And it was funny, the more we consume those beverages, the more wise we all seem to get and outspoken. So I christened it the wisdom table. We won't be imbibing in these live streams, but I sure welcome your collective wisdom and personalities. You love cribbage, Carrie said. Ah, I know. Crib is awesome. We should do something about cribbage. I played a lot of crib, 15-2, 15-4, plus 2 is 6, blah, blah. Yeah. Work your way around that board. And there are some beautiful cribbage boards. I got to get back into cribbage. It'd be fun to play that with my kids. And I haven't played for many years. Two of the guys I went to school with, going back to middle school and high school, they remain, I think, to this day, pretty regular cribbage players. So we could talk a little crib here and there. See? Now someone's listening to this and saying, cribbage? What is this cribbage? And they're Googling it right now. And so we can talk about things like that. You know, fun conversation. And we don't have to stay pegged down on one thing, We can just move it along to other subjects. But I think the tech, the live streaming, the photography, and when we talk about hikes and things in this area, I also love hearing about things in your area. I've lived a few places around the country during my professional career. For example, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I love to go up to Door County, which is just north of Green Bay. Beautiful, artistic area, lots of artists. Green Bay on one side, it's just a narrow finger of land extending northward. Lake Michigan on the other, wonderful artists. There were even some wineries and lots of fruit trees. Sturgeon Bay with its old downtown buildings and antique stores. I can go on. Did you vote Trump? We don't talk politics. That's one thing I can tell you we're not going to do. I think we're going to stay away from politics and religion. I want it to be a welcome place, and I want people to be respectful. And if they can't do that, they won't last very long there. So that's going to be a big part of that, keeping it a safe community as well. So other places I've lived, I mentioned Tucson, Arizona. And my parents, for a while, had a second place in Sedona, just south of Sedona along 89A, north of Cottonwood. But in Sedona is beautiful. But if you go north from Sedona on 89A, you climb a windy road going up toward Flagstaff. And that is absolutely beautiful up there. And I'm trying to remember the name, Oak Creek Canyon. Is that it? But Slide Rock State Park is a really cool place in there. New Mexico. I spent 10 years in New Mexico, and I got to travel. Get this, I got to travel all over New Mexico to do a series about, cool places to go and visit. Some of them are really well known, the typical tourist traps, but some places were way out of the way. So, I mean, all over the state of New Mexico. And we did a program called New Mexico by Air, even though I was on the ground. It was, at that time, that station was the Johnny Come Lately and was the last to get a television news helicopter in Albuquerque. So we wanted to promote that we'll be all over New Mexico covering news. And that series was a vehicle to do that. When was I in Sedona? Tom. So that was early 2000s. I want to say, I didn't live there. My parents had that place on the south side of Sedona, near Red Rock State Park, I think is what it was called. It would have been around 2003, 2000. Yeah, I'd say 2001, 2, 3, right around that time. Yeah, my dad and I, my late father, we used to love to go and have breakfast at the Coffee Pot, a little place to go grab breakfast along 89A there, right to the main drag through Sedona. Yeah, beautiful. Great place to go hiking too. So yeah, throw your ideas at me. Bring me questions. I can invite you if you want to come on. You just have to remember how to do that here in HAPS, because let's see here. Mic, camera, present, more, exit. I don't want to exit just yet. Love that Red Rock Canyon. So beautiful. Tom, it sounds like you've spent some time in Sedona, obviously. Did you live there? Or have you just visited once or multiple times? Another neat place there is Tlaquepaque, right? Which is like a bunch of stores and restaurants in the core of Sedona. Now I want to, okay, so visited a couple of times. Right on. When you go to Sedona, if you ever go to the public library there's a statue of Sedona Schnebly. And that's the town of Sedona is obviously named after someone named Sedona, or maybe, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but Sedona Schnebly is the person the town was named after. Um, I worked with Larry Schnebly at K-Gun in Tucson, and he's a direct descendant. Larry's probably, gosh, he's got to be in his 70s or 80s now. But I worked with him at K-Gun. He's a great guy. Yuma is in summer is ridiculously hot. Yes, oftentimes the hottest place in Arizona, and maybe sometimes the hottest place in the country. In 2008, I was between jobs after I decided not to renew a contract at a TV station in Tucson. And during that time, I was blogging a lot of news. And one of the things I latched myself to was a case out of New Mexico about a cult, guy named Wayne Bent and his Lord of Our Righteousness Church in northern New Mexico. And in studying their history, which prior to northern New Mexico had been in Idaho as well as outside of Yuma, a place called Castle Rock, a remote area outside of Yuma. They had settled there for some time. I mean, in the middle of nowhere, beneath this magnificent Castle Dome rock formation. And so I took my little personal mini DV Panasonic recorder. I can tell you it's a PVGS 150. I know that because I was researching it tonight as a possible webcam. I don't think it's going to work because I have different ideas for multiple cameras. Anyway, I took that and I interviewed a guy who lived with this cult leader as part of that group at Castle Dome. And I did I interviewed another guy as well he was separated from his wife because she remained in the so-called cult and he got out. Anyway, the news value in the story, which soon erupted, was that the cult leader had allegedly, in fact, was convicted of taking some inappropriate actions with some of the young females underage in the flock, if you will. So very much became a big news story. And National Geographic had actually, prior to me, Nat Geo, a guy named Ben Anthony, had done a really big expose, investigative report on this group. And I soon came after that. And there's a guy named Alex Hannaford, another guy from England, who now lives in Texas, I believe Austin, Texas. He wrote a piece for, I think it was the Daily Mirror or one of the newspapers in England. Anyway, I did a two-part thing on Castle Dome and the Lord Our Righteousness Church and Wayne Bent. And that is on Vimeo. I haven't uploaded to Vimeo much publicly for years, but I have an old account there, and both of those pieces are there. When I did, okay, this is Carrie. When I did extra work a few decades ago in Vancouver, one show I was on was Smallville. Oh, very cool. Meet the now notorious Allison Mack. Oh, wow. So were you a character? I've seen Smallville, and it's not one of those shows I latched onto. Oftentimes, it takes me 20 years to get onto a show and catch the need to binge watch it. That's what happened with me and Frasier. Friends, I was late for that too. Nexlum cult. Okay, you did lots of extra work. Hey, Carrie, that's interesting. Did you ever do anything? So Vancouver, that's interesting you bring that up. There is a show that got a lot of British Columbia extras on it, especially in the White Rock area outside of Vancouver, just north of Washington State here. And that is Psych. Were you ever on Psych? I love how White Rock, British Columbia is portrayed as Santa Barbara, California, and its pier. Just put up a few fake palm trees and you're in Santa Barbara. Your favorite was The X-Files. Oh, very cool. Loved Northern Exposure. I love Northern Exposure too. That was a great show. In fact, yeah, I'll tell you a quick story about Northern Exposure. No, you wasn't, no, I wasn't doing it anymore, Carrie says, but the time Psych was on. Psych is a really fun show. My wife and I enjoyed that a lot. But it really, really, the television industry has put Vancouver, certainly. I mean, going back to 21 Jump Street, at least, right? I remember when I was working at now defunct KCWT in Wenatchee, Washington, one of the early Fox affiliates, Tracy Ullman Show and all that, with a little cartoon short in the middle called The Simpsons or something to that effect. Duet. Um, 21 Jump Street, as I recall, with Holly Robinson and Dustin Nguyen, I think is how you said it. Peter DeLuise, right? I think that was all in Vancouver. Family Guy over Simpsons. I had 7 seconds of screen time on an X-Files episode. Well, hey, that's 7 more than I have, so it's basically an eternity, Carrie. Well done. I was going to look something up for you guys real quick. I don't know if I'm signed in here. Let's see if I can find this. No, it doesn't have my login. But you know what I started doing, you guys? I started using a password manager last year, I want to say it was, and it has really been awesome. Don't have to remember all my passwords. Here we go. So let's copy this. And across the finish line here in a minute. I'm so careful with passwords and two-factor authentication now. We're up against so much in terms of people who want to steal our information. I'm going to dig into the distant Vimeo archives, and I'll show you the link to the first. This is the fun thing about being between jobs in 2008 was I blogged full force, and I got out with my camera and I told stories. I broke news too. It was a lot of fun. And there was a woman I want to say it was in Safford, Arizona, and her name's Louise Furman. She had been traveling to Kenya, repeated trips, and making contributions to help folks there. And she shared a lot of her photographs and video with me. And I did a 2-part on her story called Crisis in Kenya, because there was a lot of political upheaval at the time as well. All right. So do I have it here? I thought I had it here. Come on, Horner, where'd you put it? Thought I had it right here. Well, you know what? Maybe I saved that for another time because I thought it would come up real quickly. You know what's funny is I scroll back and look at some of this stuff. I can tell. I had to load more because we're going way back. I can tell pockets of time by how heavy my face looks. Just keeping it real. Gosh, this video was 11 years ago. I remember I edited it in, what did I use? iMovie? Let me think here. Yeah, I think this was right around the time I got my first Mac and only MacBook Pro. Okay, let's grab this. So I will share this. That's Kenya. Let's find, let's not do Kenya. We want to do the Lord our righteousness. Okay, here we go. Return to Castle Dome. So I know it's not a happy-go-lucky subject, but if you're interested, and again, let me tell you what this, if I may, serve as an example of. So this old story may give you a spark. Let's see here. Let's go back to finding you guys, because HEPS is in a browser. I'm not using an application. Okay, really quickly here. A high school friend has been on a ton of TVs and movies. He's a stuntman. That's awesome, Carrie. So let me share in the chat this video. So you guys, if you want, you can check it out at some point. I'm not going to play it here and do show and tell with the video right now, I don't think. See if that goes through. Will that go through on Haps? I'm clicking send. Oh, it says, okay, there's an option to remove the link. I don't want to do that. Okay, there it is. So that's Return to Castle Dome 1, part 1 of 2. And that's a little thing I did on my own time using, a very simple camera. Back then we were shooting mini DV and it was just a home camcorder basically. So what did this do and what didn't it do? Well, it gave me the ability to tell a story and share a story that I found compelling, very informative. It was serious subject matter. It was an opportunity for me to do the things I enjoy, which is storytelling, to shoot and to edit, to voiceover, that whole writing, organizational, pulling the treasures of the things you gather together, selecting the ones that are going to make a final cut and organizing it all together in a way that hopefully clearly and effectively tells a meaningful story. And I think we did that. Now, the other thing it did, it was like, I think of this as like a permission issue. And this is so important, I think, whether you're thinking about getting into live streaming or maybe writing a book, or maybe you enjoy art and you want to put up an easel and draw or paint, but you've just been too shy. You wonder, you perhaps fear someone looking over your shoulder and saying, "What's that?" We've got to push that stuff aside. I think that stuff historically has run thick in generations of my family. And I just, and I get it. I relate to it. I understand the self-consciousness of it all. I think that's very human, but life is short. And there's a lot to be said for getting on the saddle and keeping the focus on the moment and that outlet, and play with it and see if you enjoy it. And people are always going to be people. Some people are going to like it. Some people are going to find something negative. They're just out there. And I can tell you, having worked 20 years on air and television in my past, you're always going to get those people who don't like you or don't like what you do. But by and large, if you're good at what you do, if you're, and you're putting out in front of people, especially like as a reporter, when you're on air, if you're good at what you do, you're going to keep your job because you're good at what you do. And you also hear a lot of nice things along the way. And, and you get out there and you live and you do. You get muddy. I know there's a quote, some of you have probably heard it. It's long and I don't know it, but Teddy Roosevelt had a great quote about the person who gets in the ring as opposed to the person who stays outside of the ring and lives their life that way. These days, and one of the reasons I'm saying let's get on board Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time once a week for an hour, is because I want to keep putting myself out there in the ring. And to me, it's not about getting a ton of subscribers. It's not about getting a ton of views. I want to see how long people stick around, because if that would be the true measure. Because if people are engaging, if they're feeling heard, then there's something cool happening. So let me read your comments. Bob Ross. There you go. The art side of things. There you go. Tom, do you have a little Bob Ross in you? Get a little dirt on your hands. There you go, Tom. Exactly. So sounds like some of you guys are saying, yeah, I'd like to check that out. So that's good. I'll put out more information between now and Thursday. But if you'd like, feel free to shoot me an email at M Horner, so M as in Mark, HORNER, M Horner, at beyond90seconds.com. Shoot me an email now if you'd like, or sometime in the next few days, and say, hey, I'd like to come into the Zoom room and hang out. And if you do that, I'll make sure that you get an email prior to the broadcast with a link directly to the Zoom so that you can join. And yeah, I think that'd be good. Another thing I'd like to do, and I've seen this other group that I'm participating with, the guys who are really savvy on the tech side, they use Discord heavily. I'm going to do it too. I've had a Discord account, Discord, if you haven't heard of it, for a few years, but I haven't done much with it. The only reason I have it primarily is because 3 years ago, I guess it was. My son, who's 12, was then 9, and he loves Discord. And he set me up and he organized all my Discord servers and channels. And I'm like, what are you doing? And how do you know how to do this? And I'm seeing in other groups where Discord is huge. It's the driving force for the community away from the moment in the videos. So if people can check in 24/7 and comment, whether we're, on the photography channel within our server or the tech, the live streaming, the hikes. So I'm going to build something like that too. And wow, let's see where this goes. So yeah, Tom, I'm going to get my hands dirty. Weekend plans. Oh, looks like Gabriel's here, by the way. Hey, Gabriel. Um, do I have weekend plans? Well, let me think. Well, Tom, a little bit of duty calls because I put replaced the engine in my Chevy Tahoe and drove it for lightly for a few days, and it's acting up already with this new, well, it's not a new, it's a used engine. So I took it back to the guy who did the job, and I'm probably going to go pick that up, hopefully this weekend. Hopefully he gets that straightened out. So there is that. Oh, I'll tell you something else that's going on. So I mentioned the other group of guys that are real smart on the live streaming side of things. One of them is a gentleman named Alex, and he's one of the regulars on Twit with Leo Laporte, if you know who Leo Laporte is. So Alex Lindsay is one of the two primary sidekicks on one or more of the shows on Twit with Leo Laporte. So I have been popping up lately on this panel with all these other folks on this program hosted on Alex Lindsay's YouTube channel, and it's called Office Hours, and it's from 7 to 9 every day in the morning. If I go on, I'm usually on there from 7 to 8 because then I got to be at work, and work is 5 steps away. Actually, work is 1 step away. I'm in an enclosed room here, and then it opens up to a bigger room here in my basement where I have my work set up. So you love Discord. Fantastic, Mark. Well, Mark, I need a right-hand man or woman on Discord to really help me. If you're really Discord savvy and you want to help me out, I would love it. I'd be all ears. My 12-year-old is far more savvy on Discord than I am. I've got a server set up with all sorts of channels that we did 3 years ago. I don't think they all make sense now, but I would like to optimize it and organize it in a way so that we have the channels that are appropriate for the content that I do on social, to include the different subject areas, and have an idea bank, what I call a story bank, for beyond 90 seconds. So like, for example, if we grow to a second hour on those Thursday nights, maybe the first hour is general chat and discussion where we answer questions and so forth, just like Office Hours does. And the second hour could be a topic or a guest or guests. So that's one way we can grow it and organize it within Discord as well. Tom says, talking to my sister, or you're taking your sister to the Bellingham airport on Sunday. Oh, awesome. You can really get some cheap flights, at least you could, out of Bellingham. When my mom was living in the Southwest as a snowbird, she would catch flights out of Bellingham and $90 to Phoenix or something like that, maybe less. But what I was going to say, Tom, about my weekend plans, that group, one of the things they do to push their live streaming talents and to take it a step further, which not a whole lot of people are doing, is pushing the envelope, using those talents to remotely produce a live show. And the people producing it, punching the buttons, doing the audio, are located at different places around the world. The show is called Mad in the Kitchen. And the primary host is in Bellevue, and I'll be there tomorrow assisting off camera. Her name is Madeline. And the audio guy is in the Philippines, running all the mics. One of the audio guys. Another audio guy is here in the States, and I can't remember if he's in Nevada. He may be in California. The guy Alex has been punching the show, the technical director, calling the shots, punching the buttons. He's in California, but I think there may be someone else doing that job. So Mad in the Kitchen has Madeline as a guest, and she does a recipe, and the recipe comes from that week's guest, and so it's the guest chef, and the guest chef is located in another part of the world. A couple of weeks ago, the guest chef was in South Africa, a lovely woman. She did a fantastic job. In addition to that, we have guest chefs in their homes who are like separate Zoom rooms. Well, they're not Zoom rooms because we have separate Zoom rooms for the Zoom chefs, and we've got there are multiple camera setups in most, if not all, of those locations. So when I said they're pushing technology, because this is being done live. So for me, I'm not so much a fan of cooking shows. I'm there because I get to be surrounded by all these smart people who are using this technology to produce immersive, engaging content that's bringing about a community in its own right. I'm volunteering and I'm just learning, absorbing, and all of this wonderful information. And it's live, and I miss live. I used to, like I said, work in television, and I thrived in live. That was my thing. I love live. So it's a great learning experience. Now, that is on YouTube at 5 p.m. Saturday nights. We're in the midst of I came along last week, so they're doing 8 shows. So I think we have 5 left. This will be the third one. And it's crazy because it is live, because we are pushing the envelope. You never know if you're going to crash and burn. You don't know if it's, you want to have fun, you want to nail it, you want to cross the finish line, and then it's high fives and yahoos, right? And there's even a post-mortem, everybody comes together and talks, what went right, what went wrong, and that's available on Zoom for the people who are connected to that through Zoom. And that's kind of what I see myself modeling after, is this office hours and Mad in the Kitchen experience. It's really exciting to see the way live streaming technology is impacting and really taking a deep cut, I think, into a lot of traditional television content. I think community, and I'm not the first one to say this, but community, immersive knowledge sharing, and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Something that, breaks down the power structure and just kind of brings everybody down together at this level, where it's not, more access and command presence and authority, blah, blah, all tucked away up here. Let's come together as a group and learn together, and no talking down to folks and things like that. So let's see. I'm reading elegant, Tom says. I'm not sure what that word means. Is it unless it's a typo, but enlighten me. Tom came back and said, awesome, a minute later. And Tom said, sounds fun. Yeah, it is, Tom. It's a good learning experience. So here's something else too. We're at a really neat time of year here, at least in Western Washington. Days are getting longer like everywhere else, and the weather's getting much better. So that's nice as well. But soon, hopefully, we won't have a big wildfire season, because that's become, like the cherry blossoms bloom in spring, the fires happen toward the end of spring and through summer. Okay. Elegant Airlines is what we fly for cheap. I hadn't even heard of it. Thank you for, see, I'm learning. 2 weeks ago, my wife, I was home watching Mad in the Kitchen with my wife, who's totally embraced the office hours crowd and the technology side of things, and enjoys watching how they're doing this Mad in the Kitchen live program. And we learned about a seed, and if she's watching, maybe she could send me a text. The seed of the plant cilantro. The seed actually has a different name, and it was part of what was incorporated, I think, in the recipe. So my wife ordered some, and I think it's been sneaking its way into my salads here at home. But it was, there's so much learning out there, and there's so much shared experience. Shared experiences, that's really immersive experiences and getting out with groups and stuff like that. I know millennials, aren't they? That's a real popular way to vacation, for example. Here's Doreen. Corlander Is it Corlander? I think that's right, for the win. Very good, Doreen. And if Deb was here, I think she'd be chiming in as well because she's all about her garden as well as her painting as well and her scripture. Ah, now I crashed back into, lowered my horns and just went right back into that's I. Okay. Oh, coriander. Okay. Thank you. That sounds more like what I remember. Thank you. Appreciate that, Doreen. Okay, so there's the invite people. So I'll tell you what, I'll throw out some invites just in case anybody wants to come in, but you are in no way obligated to do so. So let's just try. Although, you know what? Some of you I guess you have to be on HAPS if I'm going to invite you. I know, so I'm simultaneously streaming this to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But I think you have to be on HAPS to come in as a guest in this platform. That'll change when I'm doing it on YouTube and we're using Zoom. Let's see, there you go. So here we go. I'll send a couple. And so if anybody wants to jump on, you're good. Mark Beamish is on YouTube. Carrie is here on, looks like Carrie's using HAPS. Finish my coffee and well, no, there's a little bit in there, but I'm quite convinced it's cold now. I have some little butter here too. Okay, Carrie, I'm gonna find where you're at here. These Carries don't look like you. Oh, there you are, Carrie DDD. Awesome. I'll close that now in case anybody wants to jump on. Small things can be the most satisfying victories, can't they? Here, in terms of this room, it can get really warm, but it's a small room. But I found that down here, I think the audio is pretty good, even though I've got the door cracked. And I found a fan. I ordered it on Amazon for like $25, and it's running behind the PC, or actually not the PC. The laptop is over here, monitor here, DSLR here, and over here I've got this small fan. And I've got it on the low setting, and it's just keeping me nice and cool. And I am so thankful for that solution. Tom says, "Can't, I'm in bed." He's got the emoji like this. I think it's good that I read the comments because, for example, Tom's on HAPS, and if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you're not going to see that comment. This is something that my wife, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but my wife brought it to my attention. I believe it was my wife, Paige, said, it's great hearing you say what's being said because I can't see all those comments that you're saying. So again, HAPS, I'm using it to stream simultaneously, not only to HAPS directly, but to, in this case, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. So I see if people are commenting from Facebook and YouTube, it's all part of the chat. But if you're not on that platform, you're not going to, if you're not on Facebook, you're not going to see the Facebook comments, YouTube comments. So yeah, there you go. All right. Well, you know what? I said I'd do this for an hour. I'll hang for a few minutes. It's been 40 minutes, but I don't want to just do it to do it. If nobody wants to come on, that's perfectly fine. But if you have any questions, feel free to, put them in the chat right now because I can still talk. I'm still all fired up. I'm pumped. You may notice I don't have my headphones on tonight. What I did was I ordered a what's called an IFB, little earpiece. I haven't been in television for 12 years, but I called the company in Wisconsin, and they do a lot of the earpieces, the IFBs, for both on camera and behind camera people at television stations across the U.S. And I said, "Is there any chance you still have a mold for my ear?" And they checked their database, and my name came up twice for 2 of the TV stations that I worked at. And so I said, "Please make me one." And I thought it was going to arrive last week or next week, but it arrived today. So I'm really excited. So Gosh, I feel connected to my old self because I lived with one of these in my ear, and so you can have a generic one, you've seen them, but this one's molded for my ear from a mold that I did many, many moons ago. Congrats, Mark, on your weight loss. Wish I could do the same. Oh, hey, thanks, Tom. I can tell you, not that I'm paying attention, but it's 59.6 pounds now this year since January. How about that? Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Tom. I tell you, I hadn't gone for a walk and a jog for a few days, and I did it yesterday, and I knew I lost weight because I was like, wow, I'm in a different body today. It feels good. Feels great. Thanks, Tom. That could even be another topic if anybody ever wants to talk about that. I'm happy to talk about that. Oh, I'll tell you guys this. I went out with two of my gimbals tonight prior to sunset, and I decided not to go live. And the first thing I did was I used my phone to shoot a time lapse, two or three different scenes. I was in Snohomish, near Highway 2. And then I used Filmic Pro to shoot the clouds, just regular video in 4K. Thank you, Tom. You too. Talk to you soon. And I'm just blown away by the camera on this iPhone 12 Pro Max. It zooms in and holds up so well. I was shooting in a plane, a jet, against these beautiful clouds. I couldn't believe how close I could get to it. And the other thing is in the low light, even when live streaming, I was in Mukilteo, I think it was last night. Anyway, recently, everything kind of melts together now. I'm so busy and I'm not sleeping enough. So I was like, was it last night? Anyway, after sunset, the low light, these cameras are just getting just amazing. Anyway, if anybody wants to talk about phones and video in the future, shooting, editing, what have you, I am so fired up about what you can do with video on a phone and an iPad for that matter. And we'll talk about it down the road if you're interested. But an app I just absolutely love for video editing is called Lumafusion. I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's available on the Android side, but Lumafusion, Luma Fusion. In fact, I think it's a Seattle-based company. I can't say that with certainty, but I know they're kind of closely affiliated with Filmic Pro, or at least they're good friends. And so I use Filmic Pro a lot of times to shoot video on my phones and iPad. And Lumafusion just continues to become more impressive. And it's believed that its update next month will have several updates, but will include stabilization. So no having to go and take it into, one of my Adobe apps, Premiere, and use the warp stabilizer or anything like that. It's going to be possible. In theory, it sounds like it's going to be quite possible within Lumafusion. It's using a plugin that according to one of the videos I watched today, is the same plugin that's used by the BBC and some other major media corporations. So it's just amazing what our phones can shoot and just how the editing can go, even with 4K stuff. And I use some apps for graphics and things as well to bring in lower thirds, to create my own lower thirds and other graphics. So there's a great app called Mojo, and I think it's actually named for mobile journalists. Mobile, M-O, journalists, J-O, Mojo. Mojo is a really good app. And Mojo is also a good app just if you want to make cool stuff for your Instagram, but very helpful when it comes to video editing. If you want to be low impact, small tools, and have a light pack. Haha. Speaking of iPad, I just upgraded to an iPad Pro 12.9. So Mark, you've got the current one, the 2020 version, which is the one I have, or the one, because I don't know, when you say you got one, I guess, are we counting Is the new one out yet with the M1? Is that what you're referring to? If you've got that, you've got a racehorse. My wife is like, "Mark," speaking of me, not you, my wife. "Mark, are you kicking yourself now that you didn't wait to get an iPad?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm thankful I've had, about a year on this iPad now, and it's been great, and I'll get the other one down the road, but let's make some money first." It's so fun to buy toys, video related toys, photography related toys. So I'm sensing Mark Beamish. I don't know. I'm sensing he's giving me a reply about whether it's going to be the brand new iPad. I don't know if you've had one, Mark, and if you haven't, and you want to, I mean, iMovie's real simple to edit. It's free. Lumafusion, man, can do so much more. I recently shot some video using Filmic Pro in 4K, and I shot log. And log footage is a footage that when you first look at it, it doesn't look very exciting. It doesn't look normal. It's packed though with information. And so what you do is you bring it into your editor. In this case, I brought it into Lumafusion, and I applied a LUT. And for this specific, it's called Vlog3 or Log V3. Lumafusion already has a LUT that you just drag and drop basically, and apply to your clip, and boom, it's just amazingly beautiful, just rich color. And then you can tweak how much of that LUT, that color, those color corrections, if you will, that you want to apply to it. I haven't even had to tweak it. It looks fantastic. So Mark says, I picked up the Gen 2020. I don't think I need the M1 chip for your needs. Gotcha. So then we've got the same one. I've got the 12.9 as well. Got the Apple Pencil. I use it here and there. If I'm editing, I'll use it. But most of the time I don't use the pencil, but I love having it for when I do need it. Log is basically raw video. There you go. Think DSLR. If you're shooting raw photos, you're way beyond the JPEG. You've got that massive by comparison file with all sorts of great information baked into it. There you go, Mark. All right, so I'm at 10:49. I'll give it one more minute for questions. If there aren't any questions, that's great. We'll just wrap it up. I so appreciate you guys checking in for the spur of the moment live stream. If you have something else, though, I've certainly got another 10 minutes or so. If you want to talk some more, ask me any questions about live streaming or photography, gear, anything, hiking, anything here in the Washington area or television related. Some of those subjects we could do a whole hour on, I know. I hope to soon have some updated information. I know Tom's already signed off, but a few months ago I mentioned possible podcasting in the works, and hopefully I'll be able to share some information on that front, because there has been work being done aimed at making that happen in a very deliberate way, which I can hopefully shed some light on very soon. Okay, it looks like no more questions. Again, the leak here today, for those who might be interested, is Thursday nights at 7:00 Pacific Standard Time. I'll be on YouTube at Beyond 90 Seconds. If you would like to check out what will be an hour of something similar to this with maybe a bit more structure, but I really want to open it up to your conversations, your questions, and we'll grow a community, and we'll even bring people on as guests. And what we're going to do in very short order, maybe from episode 1, is have a way for those who want to just participate, come in the room and sit with us. I'll access a back door to that live stream through Zoom. So that is something that I'm very much getting into place as a way to do it. Thanks, Mark. Looking forward to Thursday. Right on, Doreen. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you all. Take care and look forward to seeing you again soon. Stay safe out there.